everyone. Welcome. I have Jill Wise here, and she is a small business owner, and she owns Fat City Screen Printing. And Jill, I'll let you take it away with a little introduction about who you are and the business you run, if you don't mind.
Okay. All right. My name's Jill Weiss, and I grew up in New Jersey, graduated from UConn with a degree in I had a Bachelor of Science and and certification to teach, never expecting that I was going to spend my life as an entrepreneur, which I have as a small business owner.
And you've been in
Um,
business for 40 years, correct? Or
well, Fat,
you've owned Fat
Fat
City?
City Fat City Screen Printing and Embroidery has been in business for 40 years. It was actually founded in Gaylordsville, Connecticut, by Sandy and Dennis Chiklinski in their barn behind their house.
Wow.
And their son was 10 years old at the time. And he's been printing for Fat City his entire life. His mom sold it when his dad passed away. And I've owned it for 16 years. And Dennis is my head printer, and it's really interesting to talk to Dennis and hear the history of the business. But we're now in New Milford on Route 7.
Nice. And so, what was the motivation behind buying Fat City Screen Printing or becoming the owners of it?
Okay, well, actually, I started out with a very different type of business. It was called Sports Stitch, and
Wow.
it was based on, well, my daughters were gymnasts, and they traveled around all over to different gymnastics meets. And I started this business selling clothing with my own designs on it for gymnastics. I go to the meets, I'd set up, and I was just doing embroidery. I got a little embroidery machine, and I was doing it. And at some point, Fat City came on the market, and I said, "Oh, okay, buy the production company. I'll be able to do screen printing and add that to what I'm doing." And I did, and I learned very quickly that what I was doing with Sports Stitch and what Fat City was doing were two different things, and yet combined they created this synergy that was just really cool. Took Fat City to a different level and took Sports Stitch to a different level as well. I eventually stopped traveling, and Sports Stitch went by the wayside, and Fat City has been going strong
Yeah.
ever
So,
since.
so you've known the business for the most part, it seems like. My question to you was how did you buy this business? Because I know when I know a couple websites where it's like buy, biz, sell, or something like that.com, and you can make bids on businesses. It's really interesting. It's an interesting concept, but I'm curious to know how you business and how you came up. Was it word of mouth? What was it?
Oh, well, it was actually a little ad in Penny Saver.
Gotcha.
uh,
Wow.
that said screen printing business for sale, and somebody saw it and said, "Hey, look at this! Was something you'd be interested in?" And I had known about Fat City. Fat City's been around for 40 years, and at the time it was 26 years.
Yeah.
Um, and so I actually went a pretty traditional route. I got a business loan, a small business loan through the local bank. It was local business, and I had to jump through quite a few hoops, but it was a matter of just good credit and also I had to show that synergy between what I was doing, what the potential was for what I was doing and what Fat City did and how I could take it and make that kind of money that would support the loan.
Yeah. And if you don't mind, how big of a loan in ballpark? You don't have to say it exactly, but how big of a loan was it?
Well, at the
Was it
time,
scary?
Fat City was at was in a business condo
Yeah.
um, down off of Route 7, and so the condo was also part of the package.
Oh, okay.
So it was with the condo was a couple $100,000, which
Wow.
was kind of scary at the time.
Yeah. How did you process that? What was the mindset? I mean, obviously you had been in the business and you saw kind of a good synergy, but what made you kind of take that leap?
Well, that's something I've learned. Uh, I've always been in business for myself ever since I graduated college. I ran our family business. We had an appliance repair business for many years. I mean, I've been running businesses my entire adult life.
Yeah.
So, you know, You have to plan. You have to take some time and make sure the market's good and that there's a reasonable chance it would succeed. And then you have to close your eyes and jump.
That's true. I know.
That's my
Yep. I know with Blendy, I was sitting in a parking lot out of my bank, and I had to take out a cash advance on my credit card to pay for the initial inventory. So that was kind of my jump. I had called my friend and said, "Do you think I should do this?" And he was like, "Yeah, man, you've been working on it for so long." And I was like, "All right." And I had all that money in my hands, and it was crazy. And I didn't know that when you take it out, immediately 25% interest is charged. So
oh, I didn't know that
that was a big.
either.
Don't take out cash advances on your credit card. But we've all been there. We've all taken the jump as entrepreneurs. So that's really cool.
Yes, yes.
So at Fat City Screen Printing, you do obviously T-shirts. That's a big part of the business.
It
What?
is.
Yeah.
I'm
What other
sorry.
things do you do? Banners, promotional materials. How does it work?
And all of that. Yep,
Yeah.
and more.
Yeah.
We primarily, well, we do production, and production meaning we do the actual screen printing in house. We do embroidery in house. Um, we also we make logos. We create logos for people. We do a lot of artwork. That's
Wow.
something that I like to do.
It's kind of like
And
branding.
say it again.
It's like branding a little bit as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you when somebody goes into business, they need a logo and then they need
True.
business cards, which we do outsource things like business cards. And there's actually local businesses that we work with. Also, we like to try to keep as much as we can local.
Yeah.
But people going into business need to do that branding. They need their business cards. They need their shirts, obviously, and their hats and their bags and their
Yeah.
apparel and whatnot. They need giveaways. They need pens. They need all the things that you want to do to get your name out there.
Yeah.
So it is one great big marketing package. We are members of ASI. We are members of Sage, PPAI. Those are all advertising big companies that we can go to for promotional products. So we can go on. We can find other companies that we don't make the coffee mugs, but this guy does, and we can find companies that have good ratings so that we know that we're going to be able to produce what our customers looking for in a timely way.
Yeah.
So we can do anything that you could think of, we can put a name on, basically. And I can go into specifics that you'd never think of, and I won't even go there. But whatever you could think of, we can get it with somebody's logo on it.
So that's really interesting because in my previous experience, I've used Vistaprint for business cards, right? And then I've
Yep.
done print on demand with T-shirts for Blendy, like
Yep.
one-offs on Printful. And I found that it's interesting because sometimes my logo it says, the measurements are too low or whatever, and the quality is going to be bad. So it sounds like at Fat Safe Screen Printing, you have the ability to take that logo, make sure it's okay, make sure, and then also offer all these types of services that other companies do, but in one aggregate thing. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. You may get a dirt cheap price at some place like Vistaprint. I've seen them. They charge next to nothing.
Yeah.
However, what we're offering is the expertise. We're offering the guidance. We're offering the touchy feely. You can come into the shop and you can say, "Oh, I like this fabric better," and how does this fit?
Yeah.
And is this going to be too small? Or and how is the logo going to look? And my logo looks like this. How is it going to look on something that's like that? Or these are some suggestions. You can take your logo and we can move the lettering this way and it'll still look good. We can offer that expertise to make all those things come together.
That's awesome. That's yeah, that's thing I think something that's really missing from the current
Yeah,
market. And someone who is an entrepreneur like me with their own business, when you have some type of service like that, and you're just interacting with a screen like on Printful or on Printful or Vistaprint, whatever, right? All these print companies. Um,
yeah, yeah,
you can waste actually a ton of money, and you can buy business cards, buy tons of T-shirts, and they come out like you said, crappy, not what you want.
right,
So that's really cool.
right.
And I think I saw, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, you were also doing masks and hand sanitizer, private labeling with your own logo.
That's what well, I'll tell you that with today's environment, we've kind of lost our usual we're usually now coming into our busy season,
Yeah.
and that involves end of the year school stuff. It involves the fairs that are coming up, the 5K races, the parades. Okay, well, there's none of that.
Yeah.
So to fill the void, what's happening is masks. We are selling hundreds of masks.
Yeah.
And what's really nice is our vendors are stepping up and they're producing. We just ordered a bunch of tie-dye masks, okay? Tie-dye masks.
Yeah.
Gaiters that come up over your face. I mean, and the disposable masks, also, and we can print on them. So masks are really starting to fill the void. We can get hand sanitizer with private labeling. We can take care of ordering that. However, a lot of our vendors are still having trouble filling orders for hand sanitizer. We just found a local company actually that we're not going to be putting the branding on it, but we just ordered in hand sanitizer
Yeah.
that's made in right here in Connecticut. And we should be getting that in a day or so. So we'll be able to supply it, but that won't have private labeling. But if somebody wanted to hand out hand sanitizer to their customers and wanted private labeling, we have these little bags that are about this big, and we can put a logo on that and put the hand sanitizer in it. And I'd say the customer will keep both the bag and the hand sanitizer.
That's cool.
That's how,
Yeah.
yeah.
So wow. So I mean, I talk to small businesses, right, pretty often, and other business owners. When something like coronavirus hits, that there has to be a pivot, and it sounds like this has been an amazing pivot for you. And,
An unexpected one.
yeah.
And we've had to do some real quick scrambling because we know our product really, really well. All my employees do. They know what they're doing. However, masks, this is a new one on us. I had somebody ask me, can you put a filter in them? We'll find out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I'm always curious too. I mean, I focus mainly on business to consumer, and I'm just now getting into the business to business aspect.
Mhm.
How did you originally find your and I imagine that your business is more business to business, right? You're selling, you said the 5Ks. So how do you source that business, and what is it like getting one of those clients?
At the moment, we get a lot of our business through word of mouth. When you've been around for 40 years, we don't do a lot of outside advertising. We really haven't had to. We do Facebook for local, but for business to business, uh, we haven't had to do a lot of outside advertising. I do belong to network groups,
Yeah.
and so our name gets referred very often, business to business.
Yeah.
A 5K race, if we did shirts for the local gym and then somebody there is running the race, there's our source.
Yeah. Yeah. Word of mouth is huge, especially for
It
small
is.
business. Yeah. 100%.
In
Yeah.
a town like this, also, where everybody, it's it's a small town. I don't care how widespread it is and how many people live here. It's a small town.
Yeah.
And when you've been around as long as we have, you develop a reputation.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. That's really cool. And how would you say that coronavirus has affected business in terms of, like, has it slowed you down? I know you pivoted beautifully. That was awesome. Is it going to really impact your bottom line with any employees? Like, how has it really affected you, economically wise?
Well, we fortunately got in right at the first wave of that PPP loan.
Yeah.
My
Did you
my
get
priority. I'm sorry. Say it again.
you got a PPP loan?
Right off the bat,
Wow.
yeah. In
Okay.
fact, the button became available on my bank at 12:03 a.m. Friday morning. That would be 12:03 a.m. And I had my finger on the button at 12 o'clock waiting for it to become active.
Yeah.
So I was probably one of the first ones that got that application in because yeah, business is important, money is important.
Yeah.
But to me, the people are the most important, and my employees are the most important. And I really needed to get them that funding, and so they're working full time.
Yeah.
So that, as far as I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, no worries. We all need a drink.
Oh my gosh, I'm
Yeah.
just yes,
Yeah.
and this is water. This is water.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Not alcohol.
so no, no. My bottom line is going to be affected for sure.
Yeah.
This is our busy season. We're not bringing in the usual constant large orders. We're not working to capacity right now, for
Sure.
sure. Um, However, the contractors are coming in. You know, the outdoor contractors are coming in. They're bringing orders. We've got a steady, small stream of our regular customer orders,
Sure.
along with the masks. Yeah, this is going to affect us. Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
But
With anything, of course, it's affected. I mean, it's one of those things that they call systematic risk. It's going to affect any and all businesses. That's something you learn
yeah,
if you're starting
yep.
new markets. But I'm curious to know uh, how. So you obviously have known business before. How do you think that going forward you're going to adjust your business to adjust to the new climate? Let's say coronavirus ends and everything gets back to normal, what we call it, I guess, a new normal. How do you think what will change in your business?
It's an excellent question. I think one thing that we're starting to do even now is really try to build up more of our online sales and exposure. You know, Fat City was built on the small businesses here in town, and we don't want to take away from that in any way. However, I think that we need to have that ability to reach out a little further online, which I've never really made a priority to go outside of the immediate area, Danbury, Brook, our 50-mile radius even,
Yeah.
because we haven't needed to, because the small businesses are really where our strength is. But in a situation like this, online, both as access for our local customers and to possibly expand our customer base a little bit.
Yeah.
For instance, well, just if nothing else, like I like to design. I do a lot of designing for clothing for different,
Yeah.
for whatever the theme is. Where I'm doing, I've done a lot of New Milford. I've got a line of clothing for New Milford. I've got a line of clothing for gymnastics for when my kids
Yeah.
were there. I've got a line of clothing for dance, which I also teach. Um,
Yeah.
and
She also owns her own studio, by the way.
yes, which is right upstairs from Fat City. We share the same building, both businesses. Um, so it's tapping a little more into the general consumer retail market to market my lines of clothing. That's another revenue stream that we really haven't tapped into since I've stopped with Sports Stitch, and we're starting to market that a little bit on Facebook. Get that out there. New Milford T-shirts with New Milford logos on it to the town, but also to put out their dance designs to the dance world and gymnastics designs. So that's another way that we could offset our new. I call it BC and AC, before COVID, after COVID
Yeah.
world. So
I love that actually. That's
yeah.
awesome. That's really I've never heard that. That's really cool. Um, so what is your online presence right now? Do you have a social media? Like, do you focus on that? I know you have word of mouth, so I'd imagine not much so, but what is your thinking or involvement on that?
I'm finding Facebook to be a very effective way of just getting things out.
Yeah.
Well, like, we created flyers for the masks, and we put it on all of the local New Milford Facebook sites, and my phone's ringing off the hook
Really?
for masks. It's just ringing off the hook. It's not, for the most part, it's not somebody asking. It's not a business looking for 100 masks. Actually, we just did actually sell 100 masks. I just checked with my
Nice.
office manager. But
Nice.
for the most part, it's somebody coming in and saying, "Well, can I get a couple of those pink gaiters?"
Yeah.
Which is not going to ever make us rich, but it's certainly it's serving the community, which is something that we really try to do as well. And it brings people into the business. It lets them know where we are. So yeah,
Yeah, I think that's a good point, right? Is that you've seen that businesses are your biggest word of mouth partners, right? And when you
right.
have an individual customer, even if they buy 2, 3 masks and they wear it, and maybe your logo is on it, but maybe even if it's not, they're going to talk about who they got it from, and then you're going to have
Yep.
all of New Milford buying from you, because it's
Well,
readily accessible.
absolutely. And also, that person that comes in and buys the 3 masks might have a husband that owns
A
a
business.
500 employee company.
Yep.
And we see that as well, where I really stress to my employees the importance of, it doesn't matter how small the order is, everybody is equally important.
Exactly.
One, because I believe that anyway, it's something, just a matter of respect. But also, you don't know who has what connections.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's very true. And I've found that even with my own business, you get on one site and you work with one person, and then maybe even a person from that company goes to another company. And they're like, "Hey, I worked with this person," and then boom, you have another
Yep.
connection, another ally. So that's
Yeah.
really cool.
Network. Yeah.
Yeah.
Networking is awesome.
And in your 16 years, I as being an entrepreneur for about 2 or 3 years, maybe four, maybe. But what do you think has been the biggest win for you and the biggest loss for you? Like the biggest like thing where you're like, wow, that was awesome, and then the biggest one where you're like, wow, I would never want to go back to that day.
Oh
Yeah,
boy. You know, I don't know if there's one, if I could say one. Huh. I mean, I've made a lot of mistakes.
as we all
Yeah,
have. Yeah,
I've made a lot of mistakes. I've learned from my mistakes. I've learned not a good idea to hire friends if it could be avoided. That's created some interesting situations that I will not repeat. Biggest win? Hmm. I don't measure wins in sizes of accounts or anything. I don't see
yeah,
that. You know, biggest win. That's a tough one. It's kind of a gradual, to see the business running smoothly, to see everything, the processes in place, and everything working well, and my employees are happy and comfortable, and my customers are happy, and I think it's kind of an accumulated win.
yeah. So it's an everyday win just to know that things are running smoothly.
Yeah, it's not like I've landed this great big account. I mean,
Yeah,
we've landed some big accounts, but it's not always about that.
yeah.
It's just not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think my sales mentality might have taken over there, but I'm always trying to go for the whales, so to speak. But yeah. So that, what do you think then? You said, obviously going into business with friends is not the best idea. I would agree with that, as I've actually had that happen to me,
Yeah,
and it hasn't recovered, quite honestly. But what
yeah.
other lessons do you think you've learned that you would say, I probably would do it a different way, or what have you?
Okay, well, that's a big one. The friend thing is a big one.
Yeah, yeah. Tough to learn.
It's funny. Yeah, it's a lesson that my father actually would tell me: don't hire friends, don't hire friends, and I would do it, and he'd say, "Told you, don't hire friends." But yeah, now I've got it. I've got the message. I got it. Other lessons, kind of what I said earlier. You
Yeah,
want to plan. You want to plan. You want to do your homework. You want to make sure that you're doing you got a reasonable chance of success, and then be willing to take that risk, willing to try it, willing to get 500 of them and get the start marketing, willing to take that jump. I think if you don't take risks, what is it? Nothing ventured, nothing earned.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
that how it goes? Yeah.
I'd say nothing ventured, nothing gained, but
No,
it's
nothing. Yeah, 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 yeah. Is that what it is? Okay. Oh, that's the idea. I think you have to be willing to take risks.
true.
And if you take a risk and you fall on your face, you have to look at it as an experience. Everything's an experience. Is a lesson.
Mhm.
It's a lesson learned. And that's the goal, is when you learn a lesson the hard way, you'll learn the lesson so you don't repeat it.
Yeah,
I think that's a big one, to learn from your mistakes. Things like not putting things on credit cards. No, that's a lesson I learned the hard way as well. Maybe not quite the way you did, but yeah. Uh,
yeah.
um, and
It got me
to
to sell them very fast, that's for sure.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think to surround yourself with positive people, and That's very important. You don't want negativity. Negativity doesn't fix anything. I think the most important lesson I've learned is to hire people that either know what they're doing or are willing to learn so that they know what they're doing,
Sure.
and then let them do it.
Yeah.
You know, to delegate, to know, to not micromanage, to hire people that you've got confidence in, and then let them do their job so
Yeah.
that you can do yours. You know, as an owner, your job is not to be possibly taking every single daily order and getting things ordered and processing. You know, as an owner, it's to oversee and to come up with new ideas and to take things in new directions and whatever, and let your employees do their job. You know, I think that was a tough one to learn because I'm like to have my hand in everything, and that
Totally
was
makes sense.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now that I've learned that lesson, I have a shop that runs like clockwork. I've got great employees; they know what they're doing, and they're doing it.
Yeah.
You know,
That's cool. I actually love that a lot. I wish more
yeah,
people did that too. That
yeah,
is something I'm trying to learn for sure. As a solo entrepreneur, you want to have your hands in everything and control every aspect of the business. So
yeah.
that's really awesome advice. Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
we're winding down here. I had two questions for you that I think are really cool, and that's what do you love most about being an entrepreneur and small business owner? Maybe someone who wants to start their own business, they just got some great advice from you, but why do you like what makes you get up in the morning? Why do you do this every day? What do you love it?
You know, I like to feel like I have control of where I'm going, my future, my destiny, and I don't have to answer to anybody who's going to stomp on my ideas. I can take my business and I can meet with my employees and say, wow, what do you guys think of this? And they'll give me feedback, but you know what? It's my business, it's my decision. I have control over my where I'm going to go with my life. And boy, that sounds awfully vague,
No,
but
I understand. Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, I
You love having the freedom of doing what you want to do every day and working on something that you're growing. You have pride in it, right?
I have pride in it, and I also looking at my employees and the pride that they have in my business. You
Yes.
know, they have. When my office manager says to me something like, "Oh gosh, what was the last one?" Something like, "Well, well, this vendor didn't get my order in, and I want to get my so that my customer is going to get what I would, you know." And I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. It's not like it's your customer and I'm going to just do this to make you happy. It's my customer and I'm going to make sure they get what they're supposed to, what they're expecting, and seeing the pride that my employees have in this business as well. It makes it feel like we're a team. Which is kind of cool too.
Yeah. I love
Uh,
that.
yeah, and it's probably probably the hardest thing, the best thing and the worst thing about being an employer is being an employer. It's sometimes you got to be the boss, and sometimes that's just hard. But on the other hand, the reward of seeing my employees and that they're happy and the pride they have in the business is all worth it.
Yeah, it's rewarding. That's really
Yeah,
cool. I agree.
yeah,
Sometimes you do have to do some confrontational things that are not exactly the most comfortable, but
yeah,
it's part of the gig.
yeah.
So my last question for you is: do you have any words of advice to its aspiring entrepreneurs or small business owners that would want to start? Maybe not something exactly like fat stage screen printing, but another small business.
Yeah. I think without
Yeah,
repeating myself too
yeah,
much.
exactly. Yeah, you give a
Um,
lot of good tips, but any like final words, any good knowledge you want to impart?
I think it's important to know what you're getting into, at least by the numbers.
Yeah,
You know, uh, there's two parts, I think. of going into business and then staying in business, there's the numbers and the cost of goods sold and and all the, you know, all the boring part of it.
Yeah.
You know, and then there's the dream and the vision and the where can this go, and the numbers part, that's homework. That's doing the planning. That's making sure that there's not 8 other businesses in town doing the same thing, and making sure that, you know, that if you're paying that much rent, your the overheads are not going to put you under.
Yeah.
You know, there's that. And then there's the risk part of it that we talked about, being willing to jump, being willing to say, I have this vision, I have this product, I believe that people want this product, I believe I can give it to them, I believe that this can be successful, and then being willing to close your eyes and jump. You
Yeah.
know, there's that.
Sure.
There's always that. I think that for people who are looking to go into business, once you've done the homework, then jump.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing.
I love it.
Um,
Take the jump. Take the leap of faith.
take the leap of faith. You
Yeah.
know, yeah.
Wow. That's great final words. I think I would definitely echo what you just said. But thank you so much, Jill.
You
Uh,
are welcome.
I appreciate it. That was jam-packed. There's a lot of good info, and I'm sorry if I made you repeat some of what you said at the end. But I always think leaving off with some encouraging words is always the best way to end something, you know, and on a high note. So again, I
I agree.
appreciate it. And this has been another episode of Small Business Sunday. Not Saturday, but Sunday. I like waking up on Sunday and talking to small business owners, and yeah, I appreciate you, Jill, again, and hope you have a good day, and thank you for listening, whoever did.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.